This may well be, you know, that there are different layers of red here. So this is just the preliminary covering of this, you know. So it kind of gets me, it gives me an idea. Basically, I put the colour on, and then usually what I do is I change the colour, right? You know, I tweak it, but I have to do it so that I've got something to work from. I find colour quite difficult. I'm often happier also when I'm, you know, when I'm using other people's leftover colours as well, because they've already mixed these colours and I use them, and then, you know, it's almost like they're already lived in somehow. I often have a dilemma about whether whether to use the solid color or whether to use the, you know, like the strokes so that they're aerated, you know, so that it's like lighter strokes, so not thick paint at all, because actually I quite like that, you know, when there's just the kind of smear of paint rather than the solid. But for this, I think I probably need to actually build it up so it's impasto, you know, so it's standing out almost like a kind of like solid paint out from the surface, because I want to try to emulate the neon sign. I mean, not so it lights up and color approximation, but also also the sort of feel of it. And I'm interested in the the contrast between the luminous sign, the luminosity of the sign, and then the dark background. So when you see the kebab sign at night, and you don't see the representation of the, I don't know what you call it, the column of kebab on the inside, so you just see the red outline, so it's kind of blinking at you from a distance. I like that. This idea is older. I mean, I'm doing a larger painting of this now, or this painting, or a larger version of a painting. I've done various work about the kebab. I don't hate kebabs, I like them. I don't eat them often because I don't think it's too good to eat too many, but I'm quite fond of them. So this is not an anti-kebab painting at all. It's just that I like the sign, you know, like the symbol, and it refers to various different things. So it makes more sense when you see the others. And I think also because, you know, everywhere you go it says best kebab, but so I'm thinking, well, what's the worst kebab? So, and the first responder, which is obviously you know, first responder is ambulance, police. So, but the response to this is obviously vomit. But I think first responder came from some, it came from some news report or something. So first responder. It's the emergency services. First on the scene. Paramedic maybe. So I've worked as an art therapist in adult mental health, both in the NHS and for various charity organisations in the community. And I think, partly it's, you have to, in order to work in that environment, you have to have, and you also have to recognise your own disturbance. I think if you don't have that, if you haven't got some kind of psychological disturbance, you can't relate to people, so I think it's quite important that that was an element of it. My own use of art in order to clarify my thoughts and to provide an outlet for them, really, and also to encourage other people who were in various different precarious situations to be able to possibly utilize art as a vehicle for communication and clarification of thought, and so it kind of suited me quite well because it was something I intuitively did anyway, but I was always more interested in the making of the art as a therapy than trying to analyze it or explore it in too much detail. I mean, I did, obviously, because a lot of people who are in art therapy, who come in, patients or clients in art therapy, are not necessarily people who see themselves as artists, but they're people who, for whatever reason, have got difficulties in expressing themselves verbally, or maybe, some of their experiences are beyond words. So I think that, it was an ideal environment for me, really, because I could kind of extend my own practice and encourage people to work, but also, say, like me in a way as a role model. So like, I'm suggesting that you could do this because it may be beneficial. And, I'm taking my own medicine seriously. So I didn't censor myself, A lot of art therapists, they won't work when they're with their clients because they think that this would reveal too much about themselves, or, that the therapist has to be anonymous in a way or has to be neutral. I can't really work like that because I never have been neutral. And I don't like the idea of being anonymous because I think if someone's in a very fragile state of mind and someone's wanting to know about them, they have a legitimate reason to ask, well, who's asking the questions? I need to know you a bit in order for you to know me, or you to find out about me. I need to know something about you. And part of the thing is also, through the artwork, I think. So me being seriously involved in making art at the same time as doing my art therapy work or therapeutic artwork, because usually I facilitate groups, and it's a kind of an open art studio group, really. So people are getting on with their own work, and I'm talking with people and also showing people techniques, how to work, and discussing art with people, and also discussing people's lives, so it's all mixed up together. But I'm trying to make an environment, or, maintain an environment, create an environment where people are not afraid of taking some risks and, being themselves. And so they're not going to get humiliated if they get it wrong, if they make a mistake. It's okay. Unfortunately, a lot of people's experience of doing art in school, and many people prior to, breakdown, You know, the last time they did art was in school, and they somehow were humiliated. You know, they were, you know, the teacher would ridicule their work. And so the first thing that we were always doing, or the first thing, is to get beyond that, to give people the confidence to you know, to take a risk and to put something, you know, to engage in the process, and not by knowing, actually not knowing anything, not being trained to do art. But the thing is, I think as people do it, they gain more confidence and they get better and they get more articulate about what they're doing. And hopefully their ideas add to a clearer sense of, you know, their thought process generally, in the way they're managing to deal with life over a period of time. So, you know, that is, so I was doing my own work, but also available to those people as well. So the work was always bubbling away in the background, and because it took a long time to do. And I think that very, very rarely was my work that I did a discouragement to anyone, or that they were intimidated by it, or that I was, you know, that I had too strong a presence. You know, obviously if I was working individually with someone, one-to-one, it was a bit different. I generally wouldn't do artwork. I would be generally just observing and talking and reflecting. But I think as an artist, you know, when I'm doing my work, it's very difficult if I have someone asking me questions in the middle of that process. And, you know, I don't want my work to be analysed necessarily. You know, when I'm in the process of making it, I don't actually really know what I'm doing. I don't know how it's going to turn out. And as an artist, I wouldn't want to be asking questions at that point of people.